live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Play Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of 365 Sports here in beautiful New York City. Welcome on in to what is a May 6th edition, a Wednesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports. You could always get at me on the good old cesspool of Twitter or on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Or you can find me on TikTok at the Zach Gelb Show. YouTube.com/@365SportsYT. YouTube.com/@365SportsYT. Make sure you subscribe. Garrett Ross back in our Waco, Texas studios will be joined along helping behind the scenes Andrew and Logan, So we appreciate their assistant. Will Stein, the head football coach at Kentucky, formerly the offensive coordinator with the Quack Quack Go Ducks. He's going to stop by on the show today at about 3:20 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll chat, obviously, about his new job being the head honcho with Kentucky football and get some thoughts on some of his players of the past, from Kenyon Sadiq to Dante Moore to Bo Nix and so much more, with his extensive background the last few years being the OC with the Oregon Ducks. But I want to start today with an Aaron Rodgers story. So I saw this tweet. I've interviewed this guy before, and I think he could be a media player moving forward. But he's still in the NFL. He's bounced around the league. And that is Kendrick Bourne, who I guess is now on the Arizona Cardinals. And the other day, Kendrick Bourne tweets out that, Aaron Rodgers, we're waiting for you out here in Arizona. And I've never considered the Cardinals as a destination for Aaron Rodgers with his football future. Now, Nathaniel Hackett, his guy, is on that staff in Arizona. Mike LaFleur is the head coach. Rodgers had a relationship with Matt LaFleur. Now, from my own personal reporting, that relationship was not as warm and fuzzy as what people would believe, because Aaron Rodgers was asked by Matt LaFleur. He said, hey, I want to give you more input into the offense. And I've shared this, and this has never been refuted because it's 1,000% true. And when Matt LaFleur was trying to give Rodgers more input in the offense, and they would have these meetings when the week would start, Rodgers would pick and choose when he would go to the meetings, and Matt LaFleur would be waiting there for Aaron Rodgers, and there would be a multitude of times where Aaron Rodgers would just not show up and give zero notice and never acknowledge that he wasn't attending the meeting. So I don't know what the LaFleur family relationship is like with Aaron Rodgers, but the Arizona Cardinals need a quarterback. I know that they drafted Carson Beck in the 3rd round, but there's no real NFL expectations for Carson Beck. They have this Jacoby Brissett contract situation right now where I don't know if there's an end in sight in this one. And by the way, Gardner Minshew is on the roster. So when I first say Aaron Rodgers to the Arizona Cardinals, what do you think? And when I first heard this, I said, no way, no how. There is no way that Aaron Rodgers is finishing his career so irrelevant, stuck out in the desert. And I don't think this story is going to actually be true. I think these are just rumors. I fully believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to be back as the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I would actually kind of be intrigued with Aaron Rodgers being the next quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals. Not that I think they would win a whole lot of games. Not that I think they'd be any good. But I have more of an appetite of seeing Aaron Rodgers with the Arizona Cardinals this year with Jeremiah Love and Trey McBride and also Marvin Harrison Jr. than I would with this current iteration of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I understand the Steelers need Aaron Rodgers this year because the Steelers are stuck in this way, even though they now just brought a new head football coach in Mike McCarthy, who obviously Rodgers has a relationship with. The Steelers are just stuck in no man's land where they're not bad enough to be picking in the top 10. they're not good enough to be competing for a Super Bowl. And the last time that team won a playoff game was in the 2016 season. So if you tell me you put Rodgers with the cast of characters in Arizona, he's not going to win more games than he would in Pittsburgh. But I'd just be more curious to see how that works than what I would in Pittsburgh, because in Pittsburgh, you know what's going to happen. The Steelers may make the playoffs. If they do make the playoffs, their Super Bowl would be winning a playoff game. So I have no desire to see Aaron Rodgers return with the Pittsburgh Steelers, where if they don't bring back Aaron Rodgers, which I still expect is going to be the case that they do, you can at least turn the baton over to a youngster and have a quarterback competition between Will Howard and Drew Aller and see if either are going to stick. And if they stick, okay, maybe you have a promising quarterback for the future, even though premium draft capital was not used on Will Howard, nor was it used on Drew Aller. But then if neither do stick this year, then you have a chance to be picking in the top 10 of the draft, and you have some pieces on the offensive side of the ball in DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman Jr., and you could go get your quarterback of the future in a quarterback draft class next year, which is supposed to be extremely deep with the likes of Dante Moore and Arch Manning, Lenoris Sellers, like whoever the quarterbacks are that going to emerge for the 2027 NFL draft class. Darian Mensah could be another one as well. So, Garrett, I know that there's probably no legitimate legs to this. And Weinfuss, I believe is his last name, that covers the Arizona Cardinals. I want to say his name is Josh. He said there's no truth to any of this noise that Aaron Rodgers is going to be the next quarterback of the Cardinals. But I would have more of an appetite seeing Rodgers in the desert this upcoming season than I would with him getting the band back together for maybe one last tour with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, it would make sense. I think it would be fun too, right? Like a lot of old people go to the desert to retire, so it would track for Aaron Rodgers to do that as well. But no, I mean, I think it would be cool. Like there's nothing to lose for either team. But it would also make sense if the Steelers said, you know what, we know what we're going to – we've already seen it, right? Like we've seen Rodgers and McCarthy. We know what we're going to get, whether it was in Green Bay or whether it's in Pittsburgh. It's not going to be much different. So I think shaking it up a little bit, and you bring up a good point, like throw Will Howard out there. Throw him to the Wolves. Let him start this season. Give Drew Aller some run and to set your future up next year when you draft a good quarterback. But I think it would be fascinating. I think Rodgers would be more successful in Arizona than he would be with the Steelers. And also I don't know.
You don't think so? No, because I still think the Steelers, like if you ask me, where is it easier to win 9 or 10 games next year? It's without a doubt with the Pittsburgh Steelers. In Arizona, like even if you get Aaron Rodgers in there and you have Marvin Harrison Jr., who has not been that good in the NFL, and you have Trey McBride, who's a stud, and Jeremiah Love, who I will be a stud, it's a better quarterback than what you have now in Jacoby Brissett or Gardner Minshew or Carson Beck, just to kind of get everyone off the ground in Arizona and maybe restore what we would think Marvin Harrison Jr. would give Jeremiah Love a better running mate in year one. McBride has already established himself the last 2 years as one of the best tight ends in the league, regardless of who throws the football to him. So I don't want this to be misconstrued. I think Rodgers would be more successful and would win more games with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But for me, it's not really the Rodgers decision. It's why Pittsburgh, ever since losing Big Ben, and they attempted it kind of one time when Kenny Pickett fell to them later on in the first round, but they have wasted this time without Big Ben in establishing the quarterback of the future, and they keep on putting Band-Aids. And to Mike Tomlin's credit, when he was there, Tomlin always overachieved. Now, Tomlin was never winning another Super Bowl in Pittsburgh. No. Tomlin got stale. Tomlin, even though he was still a good coach, you knew that those teams were never winning another playoff game with him. So the standard has fallen, and the stunning part to me is how the Steelers organization, not the fans, because the fans are annoyed, but the Steelers organization is kind of just, okay, this is fine. We're complacent just being a team and just being fine and just making the playoffs, but not actually doing damage. And until you stop with these Band-Aid stopgap quarterbacks and Rodgers in his 40s coming on in, trying it with Russell Wilson. They have not said, we're going to take a shot and we're going to start to tear this thing down to build it back up. And it's almost as if they're afraid to see the Steelers have a few seasons in a row where they miss the playoffs. But if you go get your quarterback of the future via the draft, you could change that overnight. And Rodgers playing this year, it's not even a lock they make the postseason because the Ravens are in your division. If the Ravens made a kick last year with Tyler Loop, who ended up being poop in that game, the Ravens go to the playoffs. The Bengals, they've improved their defense. I still have skepticism, though, with the defensive side of the ball. But offensively, if you get a healthy year of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, they can make the playoffs over the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I sit there, and this is my gripe with the Steelers, Garrett. If the Steelers had a team that I thought could legitimately win a Super Bowl this year, then I would not be sitting here making the argument that Aaron Rodgers is, the Steelers are better off letting Aaron Rodgers go somewhere else and just starting one of these youngsters and throwing him in the deep end, Will Howard or Drew Aller, acknowledging that probably neither of the quarterback of the future, and just see what happens. But I think that's a better road, is throwing Will Howard to the Wolves, throwing Drew Aller to the Wolves, at least saying if they could hang, at least see if they could hang. And I don't think they can hang. I don't think either would be very good. But if the result is the antithesis of what I believe, then you have a quarterback that has some young promise. But if they both stink and they fall flat in their face, then you're going into a draft next year where you're picking in the top 10 picks, and there's going to be an abundance of quarterbacks, supposedly, that could maybe at least address that issue of calling the shot for the next guy to lead this organization.
No, I mean, that's the valid thing. And that's where it's weird to me. Like the history of the Steelers, you think they would never be complacent, that they would always want to chase championships. But you bring up a really good point. Like they've kind of settled. And no, I think it would make the most sense. Like you're saying, just throw Will Howard out there, let the young guys cook a little bit. You're not going to be that good, but you won't end up in the middle of the pack. And then you could actually have an opportunity to draft the quarterback of the future. But I would just be interested to see how they do that, because the Steelers traditionally have never really done that. They've never really gone after, like, even Big Ben was a later pick and somebody you'd never
No.
He was early, but you didn't really.
Big Ben went 11th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
so he was like.
It wasn't a top 5 pick.
Right.
But you had, in that draft, Manning go 1. Mm-hmm. Then the Giants took Phillip Rivers. They made that trade. And then Big Ben ended up going 11th. And I'd be lying to you at the time if you actually thought that the quarterback of Miami, Ohio would go on to be a Hall of Fame quarterback and win 2 Super Bowls for the organization. Yeah. But that was at least them calling their shot. That was them taking a franchise quarterback, not just Kenny Pickett, who was the only quarterback that ended up going in the first round. And, it was a nice story because he played at Pitt. There was not a conviction that Kenny Pickett was going to be a franchise quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers when they made that pick. I think it was just, we're on the board. There hasn't been a quarterback off the board yet. We're the Steelers. We need a quarterback of the future. So we're just going to go out there and take him. So Big Ben's final season was in 2021. In 2022, they had Kenny Pickett, who started 12 games. In 2023, Kenny Pickett started 12 games. Since Kenny Pickett departed the organization, it was Russell Wilson for 11, Justin Fields for 6. And last year you saw Aaron Rodgers start 16 games. It's just been a giant waste. It really post Big Ben, it's been a giant waste with the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. And I would just ask you this, and I'm curious what your answer is, Garrett. We are sitting here on the 6th day of May in the year of 2026. I have a few part questions here. Part number 1. Do you believe the Steelers know that Rodgers is definitely going to play for them this upcoming season by now?
I don't know. I'm not confident in saying that they know. I am confident in saying they have an indication that he will, but I don't think they have it cemented that he's guaranteed to come back.
Now, I think Rodgers will always leave some percentage on the table that he's going to retire.
Right.
Because Rodgers dressed it up that way. It was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Remember when he went into the cave and he went into hiding? He
Yes.
said, "Oh, I entered that cave when he was with the Packers. I entered that cave thinking I was going to retire and I was going to walk away from the NFL. And I left that cave and I had a new life and a new calling and I was illuminated or whatever crap he said. I was enlightened. And I said, oh, I want to go play for the New York Jets." Man.
Yeah, nobody says that.
Must have been a dark cave. But
Nobody does that.
he went into that putting off the front and putting on the front that he was going to retire. Then he goes to the Jets, has the Achilles injury, came back after that. It didn't work out, and therefore he goes to the Steelers. I think most people believe that this Steelers experiment was a one-year deal. But now with McCarthy being there and Rodgers running out of options, because Rodgers has wanted to be for the last 2 years the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, and in both years they said no. Last year they didn't say yes. And this year they elected to bring in Kyler Murray over Aaron Rodgers. The Vikings called him tomorrow and said, hey, we will have you be our quarterback for this season. Rodgers would say, peace out, Pittsburgh, and he would leave him at the altar. There is no doubt about that. So I am going to say that I would imagine it's 90% that Rodgers has told the Steelers, I have to take care of some things on my end. Mm-hmm. I'm going to come back when it's beneficial to me, but I have like a 90% intention of playing football this year and playing for your organization. There could be a 10% chance I retire. But that's the other thing. It's May 6th.
Yeah.
A decision doesn't need to be made yet, but to go through this song and dance of, is Aaron going to show up? Is he not going to show up? Is he going to stay loyal to his word? Has he even given the Steelers the word? That should even be more of a sign of the Steelers to just say, you know what? We're washing our hands of this. Because even if Aaron comes back, it's not a lock they make the postseason. Even if they do make the postseason, he showed you last year it's not even a lock they win a playoff game, something that team hasn't done since the 2016 season. So I just asked this question, what's the purpose? What's the point of having Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers this year? There's no purpose. Because you're not going to win a Super Bowl. No. So start to tear this thing down. You have a nice foundation, but you need to address the quarterback of the future, and you need someone there. So I'd much rather have Will Howard or Drew Aller, not even though I think those guys are any good. I don't think they're starting quarterbacks in the league, but at least give them a chance, at least throw them in the deep end and see if they could swim. And if they do sink, and if both of them stink, then the Steelers have a bad product, and then you could at least address the quarterback position seriously and try to go attempt to get your quarterback of the future in the first round next year in the 2027 draft when it's supposed to be, and you say that each and every year, a loaded quarterback draft class. Like, start to think for the future. Don't just try to Band-Aid this thing up and piece this thing up to do what the Steelers have done now for almost a decade, which is you make the postseason, and then you end up going home, and it's the Simpson meme where the old guy walks right into the bar, puts his hat on the hook, then takes the hat off the hook, and then walks right out. You're the Pittsburgh Steelers. You've won 6 Super Bowl championships. Start to put your team on a road to get you back to the expectations and the standard of this great organization. So not that I believe Rodgers is going to be the quarterback of the Cardinals, but personally, if I'm a Steelers fan, I would have more of an appetite for Aller or Howard this year than it would be to have the appetite of Aaron Rodgers back in the Steelers. And I would hope that Aaron Rodgers would maybe go to the Arizona Cardinals and team up with the young Marvin Harrison, team up with the young Jeremiah Love, and one of the better tight ends in the NFL in Trey McBride. This is not going to happen. He's either going to retire or be the quarterback of the Steelers. And quite frankly, I believe that there's a hush-hush deal behind the scenes, and he's going to be the quarterback of the Steelers for this year, and it's just going to be on Aaron Rodgers' term. But it's pointless to have Rodgers as the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year if you are serious about eventually leading the Steelers back to the days when they could actually contend for a Super Bowl championship, Garrett.
No, that's all valid. I just wonder, like, if he would have given them a heads up and said, I'm retiring, like, was there somebody in free agency that they would have grabbed that you think, or would they have just wrote it out with Howard and Aller, given you just have like a rookie you're just drafted and somebody on their second year?
So I go through the names. I think there's 2. One could be a long-term answer, and that's a major if. Like one could be, and it's not a lock. And the other would just be really no different than Aaron Rodgers. So Kirk Cousins just signed with the Raiders.
Yeah.
If they knew that he was retiring, and I don't think they know that he's retiring because I think they are still operating under the assumption that he's playing, they could have band-aided it up once again and bring in Kirk Cousins. The other one, I think he strategically went to this spot because it's a better destination right now to restore your career, but it could be Kyler Murray. Like, imagine if you put Kyler Murray with DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman Jr. and Pat Freiermuth. Now, is Murray's style conducive to the outdoor elements and the toughness of how you perceive the Pittsburgh Steelers? No. But if you told me, Zach, you're a Steelers fan, you could have Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Kyler Murray, Drew Aller, or Will Howard be your starting quarterback this year, the strongest appetite that I would have for one of those quarterbacks and maybe getting my franchise quarterback for the future would be Kyler Murray. And then if it's not Kyler Murray, you tell me that he was going to the Vikings regardless, which ended up being the case, I would say I'd much rather have the unknown, even though I don't think they're any good, of Will Howard or Drew Aller. And I'm not a big Drew Aller fan. You know, nothing against him, the person, but I just don't think he's that good. But I'd rather experiment that way than bringing back old man Rodgers or old man Kirk Cousins, where it's just going to be the same that we've seen for basically the last decade with the Pittsburgh Steelers in terms of they're never going to be bad, but they're never going to be great when they don't seriously address the quarterback position and finding that next franchise quarterback of the future. And that's why it's so like, even if Will Howard sucks this year, and even if Drew Aller sucks this year, at least then your team's going to be bad and you have a chance in the draft to put yourself in good position to go draft your next quarterback. That's the annoying part here, is I'm not even a Steelers fan, and I'm getting fed up with this because it's an organization that you can't call them incompetent, right? They win enough games where you can't call them incompetent, and they have the benefit of the doubt and they have the trust. But how are you addressing not only the most important position in the NFL, but how are you addressing the most important position in sports? Like, how are you doing that? How are you finding a way to fix that big question and that big problem? Like, how are you getting this team back to the promised land? And the Steelers haven't addressed that. They haven't addressed that. They half-assed addressed it with Kenny Pickett, but they haven't found a way to get this thing right. And just bringing back Rodgers for next year, it's like you're going down a road that it's just absolutely pointless. And it's a team right now without a direction. It's almost as if the Steelers now, they lost they lost their GPS connection. That's what this is. They lost their GPS connection, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And instead of pulling over because their phone died and going to a gas station and charging up your phone so you could go find a way to have that connection restored and have that GPS restored and get your phone charged up so you get to your destination, the driver's just operating rogue. And the driver is just saying, hey, I'm not going to charge that phone. I know where they're going. And then you're sitting in the car and you're looking around and you're seeing land that is not familiar to you. And you've been in that car for an hour and you know where you want to go, but you're refusing to get the help to get there. That's what the Pittsburgh Steelers have become. That is what they have become. They don't have a direction. And this is why I said it with TJ Watt. When TJ Watt saw what Myles Garrett did, and TJ Watt saw that Myles Garrett requested a trade, but then pulled back and ended up taking $40 million a year from the Cleveland Browns and Myles Garrett told me right to my face on Radio Row that this isn't about the money and he wants to go to a team that could win a championship. He's tired of losing. And then the Browns dangled $40 million in front of his face per year. And he said, okay, I'm fine. I'm fine losing. I'm fine losing. Now, I remember saying this to Solomon Wilcots that TJ Watt shouldn't accept the losing in Pittsburgh and he should do what Myles Garrett failed to do. And that's go compete and go to a spot that has a chance to seriously compete for a championship. But the pushback that I got from that is that people are like, oh, be careful what you wish for. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. And it's because people, their minds are warped by the fact that it's the Pittsburgh Steelers and it's a gold standard organization and it's an unbelievable organization and they've won 6 Super Bowl championships and all that jazz and that's what people think of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But when you look at the Steelers, they're not anywhere close to competing for a championship. We all know how the Steelers season always ends. So that's why I thought TJ Watt should have forced his way out of Pittsburgh and instead he re-signed the deal. But I don't understand why the Steelers don't try to address the future. We all knew it was going to happen with Russell Wilson when he was there. We all knew what was going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. So what's the point of bringing back Aaron Rodgers for another season? Now, you have Tomlin out of the organization. I know that you have a situation here where Mike McCarthy's in, and Mike McCarthy has this familiarity with Aaron Rodgers, and they won a Super Bowl together. And I understand the McCarthy hire was unexpected when the Steelers' job did open up. But when you bring in a new coach, and I understand Mike McCarthy's not a young man, and he wants to win a lot of games this year, I understand that the way that this ended up playing on out is the fact that McCarthy probably wants Rodgers back, but you got to go address the future. And I wonder internally if McCarthy is all thought to himself, because you're not going to bring Aaron Rodgers back with the intention of sitting Aaron Rodgers at some point in this season. And if they're mathematically eliminated, that's another thing. But if McCarthy wants to succeed and McCarthy wants to have long-term success in his final chapter of his NFL career, right? Because he probably doesn't get another job after this. And he's had a fun ride with the Packers and a fun ride with the Cowboys. They made the playoffs 3 out of 4 years. If he wants this to be a successful 5-year, 6-year run, whatever it may be, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would hit the ground running right away. And I would have came out and said, hey, I love Aaron Rodgers. I forever owe a ton to my career to Aaron Rodgers, but I'm 62. So could McCarthy coach till he's 70? Like, it's not possible. So could he go have a 7 or 8 year run with the Steelers? Yes, that's certainly possible. But the only way that this is going to work is if he addressed the quarterback for the future. And if the goal is just to have Aaron there for 1 year and then you say goodbye to Aaron, and maybe then a year from now you give Will Howard and you give Drew Aller a chance, but I'd rather just see what Will Howard and Drew Aller could do now in this year in terms of seeing them play now and get that ball rolling now instead of just giving those guys and ripping off the Band-Aid a year from now, because you're not going anywhere with Rodgers. So what happens if Rodgers plays this year, they miss the playoffs, or they make the playoffs, they lose in the first round, you don't win anything of significance. Then next year, you're not in good enough position if they make the playoffs and lose in the first round. You're not in a real good enough position to go get a quarterback. Like, I guess you could trade up from 24 to inside the top 15. It's happened before, and you get like the 3rd or 4th quarterback off the board, and maybe that ends up being the best quarterback in the draft. But maybe you just say goodbye. And not maybe this is what I would do. I would say goodbye to Rodgers now, because if you bring back Rodgers for this year and then that's it, and then you go to Howard and Aller and they stink, well, you just wasted 2 years of your tenure of your final job. That's why I would just say goodbye to Rodgers now. You put a competition together, Howard or Aller. You see the determination and the evaluation in year one, and you determine who could be the guy. And if it doesn't work after this year, if you don't feel like that could be your quarterback, then you're getting your long-term quarterback next year. And you sacrifice 1 year. And I think Steelers fans would be understanding of it. I think Steelers fans would sit there and they would go, oh, okay, no, like, I get this plan. This plan makes sense to me, because this plan ends up working on out, and there's at least a design where you could address the future of this team to try to make a way for this to work. So I'm talking behind the scenes just to let people in there. Garrett keeps on texting me. I guess they lost internet back in the studio, so that's why I'm stalling here for 20 minutes, because they can't get to a freaking break. So it's not Garrett's fault, but he has nothing on my end. We're on the air. I see us live on YouTube right now, but I guess he can't get into the system to access any of these breaks. So this is wonderful. Let me just tell you, absolutely wonderful. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports. I guess then I'll just keep on talking. Like, I see us live on YouTube right now. I don't get how the internet connection just craps out like that. And that's that. So it's very tough. I will say this. It's very tough to be hosting a show right now and then dealing with technical issues behind the scenes when I can't take a break. So I don't know what people want me to do on that front. I'm just going to keep on talking. Will Stein, we are supposed to have him on later in the show. I taped that interview earlier today. I think it drops on YouTube later on the channel at 3. We wanted to drop that interview on the show today at 3:20 p.m. Eastern time. So maybe I'll just take it to 3 and then I'll end the show, and then you'll have to go on the YouTube channel to find the Will Stein interview. But the Will Stein conversation was absolutely phenomenal. So I guess that's what I'll do. I don't understand. Like, this is a frustration that I have, is that I've been here now since January and no one's been able to get me a login to get the access to control the StreamYard broadcast right now. So every day, like, I log on to StreamYard and then Garrett puts me through. And then Garrett, like, I'm just going to tell you guys the truth. I tell the audience the truth. And then Garrett controls the whole broadcast. Well, if the studio continuously has internet issues, maybe they should just find a way to get me a login access that I've been asking for since January, so I could control everything as well when these situations happen and there are technical difficulties. Because if I had that access, then guess what? I'm not one of these hosts that is illiterate when it comes to technology. I could then press the commercial break myself instead of now having to speak for a full hour straight. Like, I could do it, but we need to address that. Like, that just needs to happen, if I'm just being honest. And I feel uncomfortable, if I'm being honest, airing those things out publicly, but I'm not just going to sit here when we can't take a break and the listening audience is like, oh, why isn't Zach taking a break? Why is he making what probably should have been a 15-minute conversation about Aaron Rodgers into a 33-minute conversation? It's because I can only do what I could do. And I'm sitting here talking to you via YouTube, youtube.com/@365sportsyt. Make sure you subscribe. But with that being said, I have no ability to get to a break. So I guess I will just, from the instructions that I'm getting, because that's the other tough part, I'm one person here. So I'm getting all these instructions. I have one brain, and I can't talk and then also respond to the messages. It's just not a formula that is going to work for me. So anyway, I guess we will move on to the next topic. Stephon Diggs was not guilty yesterday, and that was an issue with his chef, and he was found not guilty of assault, strangulation. That was the charges against him of assault and strangulation against his former chef. So now Stephon Diggs, who had a good season last year with the Patriots, and I don't know what happened or didn't happen off the field, but he was found to be not guilty. So that's the legal system, and he was not guilty. So he's going to be eligible to play this season. And for Stephon Diggs, I thought his leadership to the Patriots last year was big. And coming off the ACL injury, he had over 1,000 yards, and he was a big leader for that Patriots team. And was he great down the stretch? No. Was he awesome in the postseason? No. But Stephon Diggs is a good football player who is no longer, and I know he was the Patriots' number one wide receiver anymore, last year, but I don't view Stephon Diggs at this stage of his career as a number one anymore. So where could Stephon Diggs go? I think the question's going to be a few things here for Stephon Diggs. Number one, does he want to be the number one? Number two, is it all about money? And number three, how much is winning of an importance to him? And I ask that because everyone could say they want to win, and you could say that's the number one priority, and then that player signs to a team just because they threw in the most cash, that they don't really have a chance to win. So I don't know on the priority scale when it comes to targets, when it comes to money, and when it comes to winning, how Stephon Diggs places those three things. So I'll give 5 destinations here for Stephon Diggs on where he could potentially go for this upcoming season. Let me give you an honorable mention here first. Honorable mention, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs can bring in people with questionable off-the-field records, and they're a team that gets away with it because of the foundation of success that they have built in Kansas City. You talk about Rashee Rice, who's there, and you look at that team, they could use another weapon, and it's not as if Stephon Diggs is a stud, but Stephon Diggs could go there and be the 2 wide receiver, and he could go and get a lot of favorable looks and end up having a lot of success for an offense that there are questions up front on the offensive line. But you have Patrick Mahomes, who is ahead of schedule, and it looks like he's going to be limited in some capacity when OTAs do come around. So I don't think, if winning is a priority, even though they missed the playoffs last year, I do think Stephon Diggs could be an option for the Kansas City Chiefs, but it's an honorable mention to me. In at number 5, I'm going to say the Houston Texans. Now, Nico Collins is their number one guy. There's familiarity there. Stephon Diggs was there for a season with the Houston Texans. I know they have other guys on the roster. You look at Tank Dell. He just has to be healthy. So the Texans have some other pieces, but they could use a more reliable, solid piece. And he knows the quarterback in C.J. Stroud. And this is a big year for C.J. Stroud. And he got hurt when he was there in Houston. We're talking about the ACL. And they have Jaden Higgins, and they also do have Jaylen Noel. But they could use another piece with the Houston Texans. And this is a major make-or-break year for C.J. Stroud, because C.J. Stroud, his first year in the NFL, was awesome. Was a tremendous rookie quarterback. Then in years 2 and 3, he has regressed, even though the team has had the same endpoint where they make the postseason, they win a postseason game, and then they end up losing in the second round of the playoffs. But the last 2 years, the offense has been the reason why they lost. That game 2 years ago up against Kansas City, it wasn't the defense's fault. Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. were awesome. And then this past year, I was at that playoff game up against the Patriots. Drake May was bad in that game. That Houston defense was just swarming him. But C.J. Stroud had, I believe it was 4 interceptions in the first half. So I think now with Diggs, that legal situation behind him, and him being found not guilty yesterday, I do think that Stephon Diggs could be an option to return to the Houston Texans. So that's number 5. Number 4, I think it could be the New England Patriots. I do. I think it could be the New England Patriots, where they got rid of him, the uncertainty off the field. It was a 3-year contract at a pretty penny. I just don't know after a team just gave up on you. And Stephon Diggs loved his time in New England with Mike Vrabel. But when a team just gave up on you and got rid of you, are you going to put your tail back in between your legs and run back to them and take a lesser price? And the other part of this formula is Stephon Diggs would be walking in and it would be designed for him to be the third wide receiver this year in New England. Not that I think he's worse than Romeo Doubs, but they just paid Romeo Doubs money. It's the worst kept secret that A.J. Brown is going to be a New England Patriot after June 1st. So you have A.J. Brown, you have Romeo Doubs. Maybe a spot opens up because there's a chance Kayshon Boutte ends up being in that trade to the Philadelphia Eagles. Just from some speculation, you got Matt Collins back with that team. So I think because of his love for Vrabel, that maybe it's a possibility him and Drake May were on the same page. But if targets are a huge issue for Stephon Diggs, because the Patriots can win, they're not going to throw you a big bag of cash. But if winning is a true priority, then I could see him maybe running it back with the Patriots. If targets and money, which I do usually believe are the most important priorities, and I don't fault players for that. If targets and money are the most important priorities for Stephon Diggs, then a team that makes a ton of sense is actually the Las Vegas Raiders. I look at the Raiders, and you have Fernando Mendoza. I know you also have Kirk Cousins there, but Mendoza is going to play earlier than what you could expect. So you've seen Diggs work with the young quarterback before, in Stroud, in Allen, in Drake May. So he's capable of doing that, having somewhat of a good relationship with his quarterbacks. Him and Drake had a good relationship. Him and CJ Stroud had a good relationship. It was good in the beginning with Josh Allen. Then it got ugly at the end because Stephon Diggs, everywhere he goes, he does have an expiration date. But when you look at the Raiders, yeah, they have Bowers. Yes, they have Ashton Genty. Yes, they have Mendoza. But what do they have at the wide receiver position? That has been something that they haven't really addressed. And there's not clarity on a stud there at the wide receiver spot for the Raiders. So you could have Diggs walk in there, and it's not like Trey Tucker or Jack Beck or Jalen Naylor are going to be viewed as a better player than Stephon Diggs. So if targets are the most important thing and being viewed as that number one guy, which Diggs was viewed as a number one guy last year in New England, then he could definitely go to the Las Vegas Raiders and, maybe spend a season out there before going and resetting the market for himself a year from now. In at number 2, I think this would be a really smart decision by this team to bring in Stephon Diggs. I understand that they made the move for Jaylen Waddle. I also know that you got Courtland Sutton. So if targets are a huge issue for Stephon Diggs, and this would not be appealing for Stephon Diggs, but if winning is of the utmost importance to Stephon Diggs, you have Diggs, Sutton, and Waddle with Bo Nix throwing the football, assuming that he's healthy. And with that defense in Denver, that's a team in a wide open AFC where Buffalo's got some questions. New England's got some questions. In the AFC North, the Steelers, the Ravens, the Bengals have questions. In the South, and maybe outside of the Titans, any one of those teams can win the division. In the West, Kansas City, this is the first year where they're viewed as vulnerable because they missed the postseason. The Chargers, can they win a big game? You're Denver, you're probably sitting there saying, man, if Bo Nix just didn't get hurt up against the Buffalo Bills, they probably beat the New England Patriots. So, yes, they made a big splash this offseason going on out and getting Jaylen Waddle from the Dolphins for their late first-round pick. But what happens if there's an injury there? Why leave a stone unturned and have 3 really good wide receivers and go all in to try to get to the Super Bowl this year when your team just got to the AFC Championship game and they were competitive with the Patriots, even though they were without their quarterback, Bo Nix, and you had Jarrett Stidham starting? So I think the Broncos could be an option. But quite frankly, I know that I'm Medejo when he joined us, Femi, that this was refuted because of the fact that, the Ravens don't like to deal with off-the-field problems. in the aftermath of the Ray Rice situation, but with Stephon Diggs being found not guilty, and I know there's more with Stephon Diggs, and there's been other things. Remember the boat ride that he was on with the pink powdery substance that was there. But if I'm the Baltimore Ravens, you got Jesse Minter, new head coach. You brought in this offseason, originally Max Crosby, then you got cold feet, and you ended up pivoting to Trey Hendrickson. But on offense, you got Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews. I know they just drafted Elijah Surratt, and you still got Rashad Bateman there. If you go out there and bring in Stephon Diggs, he's a legitimate number 2. And you've seen the Ravens like to bring in these older wide receivers. Odell was there. DeAndre Hopkins was there. I could see them bringing in Stephon Diggs, and you get a guy who was a 1,000-yard wide receiver last year. That could be the difference maker in them winning the AFC North or not. So I look at 5 destinations for Stephon Diggs since he was found not guilty yesterday. Honorable mention, the Kansas City Chiefs. Then the Texans at 5, the Patriots at 4, the Raiders at 3, the Broncos at 2, and then the Baltimore Ravens in at 1. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports. Let's do this. So Jaylen Brown, we played you his comments yesterday, and I have no access to video right now because this is just me running the show, and I don't have an account for whatever the reasons are. But Jaylen Brown was clearly upset at the end of the Celtics season, where Jaylen Brown comes on out and in a weird way, he throws shade at Jason Tatum by just saying, oh, this was my favorite season with the Boston Celtics. You won an NBA championship. You won an NBA championship. You were the finals MVP. How was that not your favorite season as a member of the Boston Celtics where, yes, you individually got more praise than ever in the regular season, but in the postseason, you had the worst collapse in Boston Celtics history. You're up 3-1 against the Philadelphia 76ers, and you couldn't close it out. But that was your favorite season. And I thought the flopping comments were kind of lame. Flopping happens all the time in the NBA. You lost, don't have sour grapes, and just take the loss like a man. But Tracy McGrady, who is a mentor and a friend to Jaylen Brown, said the other day, and this clip's been going viral, I wish we could play it for you, that Jaylen Brown's frustrated with the organization. I'll just ask this question. What is Jaylen Brown frustrated about? What is he frustrated about? Jaylen Brown, this organization is paying you a lot of money. And I saw that Brian Windhorst said that he's eligible for a contract extension this offseason, and he's got 2 years left on his deal with like no options or anything like that, that this new deal would pay him $70 million a season. What are you upset about? You had a great regular season. Your team sucked in the postseason this year. You are annoyed because this is still viewed as Jason Tatum's team. And there's always been a bizarre relationship where it's not a ton of animosity. Like, I don't think there's hatred between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, but they never see eye to eye. They've won a championship together. You guys should be together for the rest of your career and trying to together win another championship. That should be your goal. That should be your dream. But it seems as if Jaylen Brown is obsessed with being the number one guy and wanting all the attention. And I can't say when Jaylen Brown is at his best that it's not conducive to winning a championship, because Jaylen Brown played better than Jason Tatum in the NBA Finals, and Jaylen Brown won the Celtics that championship and got deservedly so the Finals MVP. But if Jaylen Brown didn't have a strong running mate like Jason Tatum, do I think Jaylen Brown is winning a championship? Probably not. Like, if Jaylen Brown is without a doubt the number one, if he gets traded to Milwaukee, is Jaylen Brown winning a championship in Milwaukee? I don't think so. But if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, I'm looking at this as you have a disgruntled player, and I know Brad Stevens has denied it today. But you have a disgruntled player in Jaylen Brown. I have Giannis Antetokounmpo if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, where he just doesn't know how to exit. And he wants out, but he just doesn't want to say it, and it keeps on going back and forth in these games. I'd call him up and I'd say, okay, we want Jaylen Brown. You could get Giannis, and there would have to be more going back to the Milwaukee Bucks. But there's always something bizarre around Jaylen Brown, where all this guy has done is had success in his career, and he's been a winning player. And because the fans love Tatum and it's viewed as Tatum's team, he's sensitive to that fact. And he at least puts on this front or leaks it to Tracy McGrady, because these words didn't come out of his mouth. He was just, saying how this was his favorite season, but it gives off that implication of what I'm talking about. And then Tracy says what Tracy says, that he doesn't want to be there. But it's almost like it's the boy who cries wolf, because for years we've heard this. And for years, Jaylen Brown is elected to stay with the Celtics organization. And I know a contract is a contract, but you could get out of a contract if you want in the NBA. Now, yes, your contract is still your contract, but if you wanted to force a trade, you won't be the first, you won't be the last to force a trade with the Boston Celtics. So this offseason, they're going to offer him a contract that's going to be $65, $70 million a year. And if Jaylen Brown doesn't take it, then he clearly wants to be the, without a doubt, number one guy to go lead an organization. And if that's the case, fine. But, look at Shaq and Kobe. Shaq and Kobe won 3 championships together. If Shaq and Kobe could have just been on the same page and didn't care where the credit did go to, they would have won more than 3 championships together. And Shaq won a championship on his own. He went to Miami with Dwayne Wade. But he won a championship away from Kobe, and Kobe won 2 championships away from Shaq. Now, it worked. Both are top 15, 20 players of all time. Unfortunately, Kobe is no longer with us, but both of their basketball legacies are cemented, and both of their basketball legacies are great. But the reality of the situation is that Shaq and Kobe could have won more together than what they actually did if they just put the egos aside. And this seems like an ego battle, and I don't think Jason Tatum is the insufferable one. I really do think that the insufferable one here in the conversation is Jaylen Brown. And I think that Jaylen Brown would prefer to be the number one guy on his own team. But every time he's had a chance to go leave, he's stayed in Boston. So I think this is more of a Celtics decision. Is this just, okay, let cooler heads prevail, this dies down, Brown is back? Probably. But if I'm Boston, I'm not wanting to get rid of Jaylen Brown, but I'd have a conversation with Jaylen. Hey, there has to be merit to what Tracy McGrady said. You guys are that close. So why is that out there? Why did you say this was your favorite season as a Boston Celtic when our standards to win a championship, you won a championship, you won a finals MVP? How is that not your favorite season? And I would need to know the answer to those 2 questions. And if those answers I don't feel comfortable, if this won't continue to be a distraction, I'm not just paying Jaylen Brown a new contract extension so then he could go get his money and then eventually just force a trade away from the organization. I would say, no, we're going to then go trade you right now. But I understand that's in the moment. You could also get Giannis with Tatum. That could be more appealing. And you could use Jaylen Brown as a trade piece to go get Giannis Antetokounmpo. But the Celtics need to figure out what Jaylen Brown's true intentions are. Because this has been now a song and dance for the last few years where there's smoke, there's a fire. And this needs to be something that needs to be addressed. And this needs to be something that gets taken care of this season, where the Celtics need to legitimately find out, does Jaylen Brown actually want to be here? I guess connection has been restored in our Waco, Texas studios. Garrett, can you hear me or no? Let's see.
I can hear you.
Ah, there we go.
Yes.
What, the internet? What did Paul Catalina
It's
kick the
still
internet
being
out?
it's still being worked on. I'm hooked up on some kind of remote thing. It's a day, Zach. It's a day.
You got it. It's not your fault, but it would be nice if
I know.
someone could get me an account behind the scenes.
know,
So when that happens, I am
I've
not a
mentioned it.
dope. I'm not an idiot. I'm not a moron. I know how to press a button that could play a video where that if there are issues, we could be here and handle that. But the thing is, every time I've asked for this email, I have to send a code, and then no one sends me the code back.
And I've mentioned it again. I've tried. I'm trying.
Man, it's not your fault.
I know.
It's not your fault, but I'm here on the air, and I don't like airing this stuff out publicly. But you're texting
we can go
me,
ahead.
right? Like
I know.
You're texting me, hey, I'm sorry, you can't take a break. You just got to go. Will Stein will play when Will Stein plays. And I physically, my brain doesn't work this way. When someone is trying to communicate with me, so whenever when I was on the radio and someone could speak into my ear, I always effing hated that. I'm talking on the air. So when you're speaking in my ear, I can't listen to what you're saying and also talk, and you want me to make sure that these words sound somewhat coherent. So you're texting me, which you need to do because you need to let me know that we have no internet, so I don't just say, hey, let's throw to a break, and we're not there, and we need to make sure that we're still streaming. So I'm trying to communicate with you, but I'm also trying to speak, and then I'm just explaining to the audience what ended up happening. But it would behoove us as a show in the year of 2026 to get me a login credential, which is not hard. I don't know why it's that hard. And I get a login credential, and then God forbid the internet crashes in Waco, Texas, where you're located, that then I could press the button to go to break and play the videos of content of things that we want to talk about or our commercials that we have behind the scenes. I don't know why it's so difficult. But whatever hamster's running around the wheel there, can we just get me an effing login? That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for the nuclear codes. I'm not asking for some mysterious thing here. But all I need is just a login. That's all I need. Can I just get a mother effing login, please? That's all I'm asking for. So let's do this. Since I just spoke for 56 straight minutes, after going to a concert last night, and I was singing my heart out at Bruce Springsteen and the legendary E Street Band, going 56 minutes without a break, now 57, is not great for the vocal cords. So we are good to go right now, right? We are connected. We are fine. Everything is squared away.
I am hoping. I'm hoping to go.
Okay. So let's do this. We're going to take a break. We're going to see what the video quality is of the break. When we come on back, we will then have a few videos that we are going to play of things that I wanted to play on the show today from a video content. And then hopefully we'll be able to air our conversation with you with the Kentucky head football coach, Will Stein. We will still try to aim to do that at 3:20 p.m. Eastern time. So it is a Zach Gelb show. It's not a sprint today. It's a marathon right here on 365 Sports.
4-burner, side sear burner with Clearview glass stainless steel grill from Monument Grills. Made of tempered glass, which is strong, insulated, and allows you to check your grilling without lifting the lid. Our porcelain-coated cast iron cooking grids offer a large cooking surface of 513.3 square inches, primary cooking area, with even heat cooking. The Monument Grills include LED control knobs and are easy to light with pilotless electronic ignition. Better grilling, better value, Monument Grills.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Abby Dommett, 2023 CrossFit Games athlete, and I use Airwave because it helps me breathe easier and stay more relaxed during my workouts.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Very discreet.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. I think this thing is on, Garrett. I believe that we are still connected to you. There we go. I see your lovely face. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports. That the first time that this thing happened, I will when you guys had the internet out and you texted me, "Oh, the internet's out." I'm like, "Well, can you hear me?" And then the YouTube chat was like, "Yep. We could still hear you." And I just didn't understand how that was working because we need your connection to run the show. But I guess since I'm in and I'm powered through the through the StreamYard where I'm popped up that I could keep on going. But you would think since you initiate the call, and this one doesn't make sense to me, that if you drop, since you initiate the call and you're the platform, the hub of where this is running for, if you have no internet, you wouldn't then think just because I'm through that this would continue to be able to work. But that's another thing technically that I don't understand how that works, and that will never make sense to me. But I gather that we are good to go. Will Stein will have that conversation for you coming up in about 15, 20 minutes from now. What's the scene like behind the scenes when technical problems happen? Like, are people running around with their heads cut off right now?
There's a couple of the internet people that came in to work on it. Somebody took time to eat their lunch. Somebody had a hot spot, was able to do some stuff, and I'm just scrambling,
What do you know what the lunch order was, by the way?
I tried not to look at it. I didn't see the order.
I saw something yesterday, by the way. Well, actually, I didn't see it. My mom saw it. So I went to Springsteen last night, and it was my dad, my mom, my girlfriend, and I. And we took the train, my girlfriend and I, from the city to UBS Arena out on Long Island. My dad was coming from a golf tournament he was playing in Connecticut, so he drove and met us at the stadium. And I said to my mom, take the train from your house on Long Island and you'll meet us there. So when you get to UBS, the arena, from the train station, they give you a complimentary shuttle. It's 10 minutes. It's a 15-minute walk, which I would have no issue doing it. But my parents are getting a little bit older. My mom loves to walk. But since it was like the show wasn't that far away from starting, we just got in the shuttle and boom. So I picked up sandwiches from the city. So I had a chicken cutlet sandwich with, what was on it? There was some prosciutto on it, which was actually, what was on the sandwich? Let me do this. I have the, it was called the Lady Gaga sandwich. So let me search on my phone, Lady Gaga, and hope that this comes up. I'm just trying to find this here. And of course now it's not going to come up. But anyway,
that's not going to work.
Hold on, I can do this. It's from West Bank Deli, which is a good New York deli that I like, right by my apartment. Like nothing crazy. Signature sandwich, because they have the signature sandwich that they do. All right, let me just get up on the West Bank Deli app. Let me get to the menu because the sandwich was pretty damn good. And I want to accurately describe the sandwich because I don't want to be fake news here. So this sandwich that they had, going through the wraps and panini, my girlfriend and I split one of these sandwiches. It was, here we go, running through a lot of sandwiches here. Celebrity sandwiches. Lady Gaga Joey Zaza sandwich. Don't ask why it's named this. Just eat it. Chicken cutlets, prosciutto, fresh mozzarella, roasted peppers, bruschetta, oil, and vinegar on a thick Italian roll. So I had half. My girlfriend had half. We thought we were going to eat it on the train.
Right.
Because we met in Jamaica train station, and it's like a 10-minute ride to the stadium. But it was rush hour, New York City, peak hours traveling. we were standing. You're not going to stand and eat a sandwich. It was just too messy. So we get on this complimentary shuttle, and we quickly eat the sandwich.
Right.
I didn't realize we were in the last row of the shuttle. So it was 5 seats. It's my girlfriend, me, and my mom, and then there's 2 other random people. They have Wawa. I love Wawa, by the way. So they have Wawa sandwiches. My mom told me that she saw this on the shuttle, that the lady next to her dropped her Wawa sandwich on the floor of a dirty shuttle.
No.
Picked it up, looked around, and then ate her hoagie.
No.
You're going to get a disease that way, right?
Doing that. That's gross. No.
As much as I describe that sandwich to you, that sandwich, as much as that sandwich sounds absolutely delicious, if I was basically, give me a running back with fumbling. Derrick Henry this year,
There
up
we
against
go.
the Buffalo Bills, putting the ball on the turf with the sandwich. If I did that, I would say, I'm shit out of luck. I got to throw that sandwich out because it's a complimentary shuttle. God knows the people that are sitting on that shuttle, how clean people are. It's a dirty bus, people's shoes and all that. And then you're putting that food in your mouth.
No.
So that's absolutely disgusting. So that was the sandwich situation yesterday going to the concert for Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. But I could not believe, and I wanted to tell this to you today, I could not believe that some lady put a sandwich in her mouth that was on the floor.
Dude, there's no way I'm doing that. I don't care how hungry I am. Not in New York. No. It goes on the ground. It's going.
It's
in
not
the
just
trash,
New York.
bro.
Anywhere.
Just
like
in
you're
general,
on a bus
in
and you
general,
drop a
yeah.
sandwich. Like if I dropped a sandwich in my home, which is a clean home, and it falls on the floor of my own house, it's on the floor. That's dirty. So you're not a believer in the 5-second rule?
Eat that. I would.
Oh, you
yeah.
would?
Oh, yeah, dude, the 5-second rule. If that was in my house, yeah, it's on.
I don't know. I'm looking at my kitchen floor. It's pretty white, so it's clean. And we have white tiling in the kitchen. Even if I dropped a sandwich on the floor, I don't know about that one. Still,
Oh, I would. I could.
Still,
It's just not in public. Not in public like that. No.
Okay, so that's the line in the sand. In your own home, in the confines of your home is fine, but
I mean, it just depends on the scenario. If it's on a shuttle bus like that, no, I'm not picking that up and eating it. But it would just have to depend on the circumstances on which it fell.
yeah. So I had a good time
I would
at the
have to
concert
say.
last night, and I had a very good sandwich. Now, anyway, I want to play some videos before we do get to Will Stein. So let's do this. Adam Schefter was on with John Kincaid and Andrew Salchunas on 97.5 The Fanatic earlier today. We'll bump around here. We'll go from clip to clip. But this was Adam Schefter talking about, is there any way that Mike Vrabel may not be coaching the Patriots this year, and is there a chance that could impact the negotiations with A.J. Brown and the Pats?
The biggest story in the world, that is the Mike Vrabel situation. But I'm curious, if this continues to get worse, is there any chance that Mike Vrabel takes a year off from being the head coach of the New England Patriots? And if that does indeed happen, does that change the wishes of A.J. Brown?
I would say that right now there are zero plans for Mike Vrabel has zero plans to step down. Patriots don't have any plans for him to step down today. As we've seen in this particular situation, it continues to take twists and turns where you think the story may be subsiding and it's not. Mm-hmm. And I would say that as long as there are no other flare-ups or revelations or videos or pictures or whatever it may be, as long as there's nothing else, I would fully expect Mike Vrabel to coach next year. But are there going to be more things that come out? I have no idea.
But
no idea.
Is A.J. Brown's decision, I mean, I hope you get where I'm getting at here, is A.J. Brown loves Mike Vrabel. So let's say this does happen in a world, even though you're not expecting it, in a world on May 25th, there's this big bombshell, and Vrabel goes, I need to take a year off because this might be a distraction to the team. Does A.J. Brown have second thoughts?
No, I don't think so. I think I expect that trade to proceed when the two sides were able to come together and formalize a trade that would send A.J. Brown to the Patriots.
So there you go. That was Adam Schefter. Garrett, do people really think that Mike Vrabel's not he slept with the married woman? They had consensual sex. They were both cheating with on each other's significant others for 5-6 years. I understand that this is a big story, but why would the Patriots get rid of Mike Vrabel? And unless if Mike Vrabel his wife gives him an ultimatum, if you want this marriage to continue, you got to resign for your job and just focus on the family. That's the only way I see Mike Vrabel not coaching the Patriots. Even if more photos drop, so what? Now, if a video drops and there's a tape out there, that could be a little bit different. But still, we all know what happened. They cheated on their significant others.
There's nothing that would stop him from coaching, in my opinion. I don't care what franchise it's with, but with him already being attached to being the Patriots head coach, and I know, dude, the Robert Kraft thing, that's the pot call and kettle black if you fired him. You just can't.
Yeah. I don't think the Patriots – I don't think the Patriots are firing this offseason. No. I think if Mike Vrabel isn't coaching the team, it's because he no longer wants to coach, which I just don't see how that's going to happen. All righty. Let's move off of the Mike Vrabel stuff, and let's just quickly – we were talking about this when we had no access to video. Let's get the video out here. We played you – the other day, Jaylen Brown's comments after they blew the lead to the Philadelphia 76ers. Here is Tracy McGrady, a mentor and friend to Jaylen Brown, on Jaylen Brown's frustration with the Boston Celtics.
Frustration lies deeply within the organization and other things that, of course, we don't really have the details to. There's just been a lot of stuff that I've been hearing just going on with the Boston organization, with JB, so I think part of him is I showed you guys more of who I am as a basketball player, not only just, what I did on the basketball court, but the leadership that I displayed within, this team. And you've seen that, not having our, best player in JT. You've seen a different side of me and what I'm able to bring to the game of basketball. So all that stuff, I think just came into play with him and his frustration. However,
what is he frustrated about? I still don't understand what he's frustrated about with the Boston Celtics. It seems like he's just frustrated with Jason Tatum, and him and Tatum don't have this great relationship. But yes, you won a Finals MVP. You got the credit. That's still not fulfilling for you. And in a year where there weren't high expectations and you were the guy and you had a great regular season and then the team in the postseason had 3-1 lead and you couldn't get the job done, you're going to call that your favorite season with the Celtics? I keep on hearing Jaylen Brown through the years, have people say that he's frustrated and that relationship's not great. I think this is more of a Jaylen Brown problem. And the Celtics have to figure out this offseason, can Jaylen Brown continue to be happy with the Boston Celtics? I still expect him to be there because it's the same song and dance each and every year. Do you want to know who Jaylen Brown is actually doing an Instagram Live with later? Oh, boy. I'm going to be curious by this, but I don't think this guy's going to take any shit. That's the thing. So, I don't know. Maybe this is a way that he could restore the narrative about what happened in the last 48 hours. He is doing an Instagram Live later today with Boston Celtics legend Kevin Garnett.
Oh,
okay. KG.
I love
KG is one of my favorite players ever. And he is Mr. Accountability. I kind of hope KG just brings up, hey, Jaylen, we've seen the Tracy McGrady comments. We know how close you and T-Mac are. Can you set the record straight? Are you frustrated with Jason Tatum? Are you frustrated with the organization? Just what the heck is going on, and do you actually want to be a Boston Celtic? I would love to know the answer to that. Let's go to Get Up, and I don't know if he will. Let's go to Get Up. This was, I think, Brian Windhorst being asked, would a Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jaylen Brown trade actually make sense?
Fascinating. Yeah. I mean, you look at Milwaukee, and you look at what is it they want, which is different, Vinny, maybe from what they need, as we were talking during the break. But Milwaukee is, you're sitting 90 miles from Chicago. When even that franchise is irrelevant, they've had stars. And Milwaukee it's a big, you've lived there long enough.
Course.
Milwaukee wants a star player in return. They want to operate with that. Giannis can't be on the court healthy. Talk about Joel Embiid. Giannis, when he gets to the playoffs, is Anthony Davis. He's not out there. So if you can get Jaylen Brown, who is out there, and a star, a first-team All-NBA guy, okay? Now, and if you're Boston, can Giannis help you with Jason Tatum in a way that you're worried going forward that you're not going to get for your tag team for the next year?
So let me respectfully.
Yeah.
Respectfully.
God.
Yeah, I know.
Anything that starts with respectfully is going to be disrespectful.
It's not. I know it's coming.
It's not.
Go.
It's not. Respectfully, Mr. Wilbon. the Chicago tortured fan who just came out there because the Bulls had nothing to do with this, and you just brought him in.
Milwaukee.
Yes,
and you know because you live in the Midwest.
Yes.
You're a Midwestern kid. You know Milwaukee looks at having a star.
Right.
They've had two, Lou Alcindor and Giannis, and they want a star. They want a star in Milwaukee. That's where I'm talking about.
What's the point?
The Boston question is, so you trade Jaylen Brown, who is healthy, who has had a history of playing, and you have Jason Tatum, who is a health issue, and you would trade for Giannis, who is a long-term health issue.
Again, good
How
for
does that make
Milwaukee.
sense?
Great for Milwaukee.
To me,
Great for Milwaukee.
I think.
I'm just asking.
Great.
I think it would be great for Milwaukee. If Giannis wants out, you get a player like Jaylen Brown and other things back. I think that's great for Milwaukee. I don't think Jaylen Brown's going to go win a championship, but at least they get you a relevant player in there. And we could see how Jaylen Brown does as a number one, and you build that team around Jaylen Brown. And for the Celtics, you get Tatum and Giannis. That's fun. I don't know if it wins a championship, but that's a heck of a 1-2 punch in the league. All righty, last one, then we'll get to Will Stein, our conversation with the Kentucky head football coach. Here is Brad Stevens, the president of basketball operations for the Boston Celtics, talking about this reported frustration that Jaylen Brown has with the organization.
I talked to Jaylen Monday a little bit after he just real quickly and was nothing but positive. He has not expressed those frustrations to me. We've been here 10 years together, and I do think that, obviously I love JB, and everybody around here loves JB. And, I think just like any of our other guys, as we get to the end of the season, I'll be here, and my door's always open. And if anybody ever wants to come in and talk about it, and talk about, their team, their place, whatever the case may be, I'm all ears. And that would be 1 through 16, not just, not just Jaylen, not just Jason, not just the guys that have been here. I think it's really important to be available. So I certainly am, and none of that has been expressed to me. So.
He's not going to dump fuel on the fire here. He's just not. And Brad is too professional to do that. And I think Brad wants to make this work and reel it back in, and I think he'll be able to find a way to do so. All right, this is Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. Will Stein, the head football coach of Kentucky, will join us next.
Second?
Yeah, come on in.
Thanks. I'm having an issue with Ralph.
With Ralph? Change. I want you to think about how you can be more accommodating to Ralph. We're all co-owners here.
If I'm only wearing one suit this summer, it has to be Tuileries Performance Linen. It's wrinkle resistant, machine washable, and built with stretch and breathability that actually moves with you. It'll keep you cool, sharp, and stress-free at your next event.
What does being different mean to me? That is an interesting question.
Because there really isn't
one way. There's a bunch of different ways you could do it.
But love is passion. Someone you can't live without.
What do you want? What's that really good non-alcoholic beer I keep hearing about?
Do you have that really great non-alcoholic beer that I keep seeing?
You mean athletic? You're looking at it.
It's athletic. Ask for it.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Continue. This is Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on 365 Sports. Let's talk a little Kentucky football, and we do so with the new head honcho at Kentucky, and that, of course, is Coach Will Stein. Coach, appreciate the time. How are you?
Thanks for having me on, Zach. I'm doing great. Just had a great Kentucky Derby weekend with my coaches on Thursday, some friends from back home on Friday, and then some big-time Kentucky supporters on Saturday. So I did the trifecta, and I finally feel like I'm recovered and ready to roll.
What is that experience like? Because I have some FOMO when you say, because I was supposed to go to a bachelor party right before we knew COVID was going to happen, and we were going to go to Kentucky for the Kentucky Derby. So I've seen it on TV. It's a magnificent event, but what is it like to be there?
It's great. I'm born and raised in Louisville, so I grew up going to Churchill Downs, and majority of the time I would go to the Oaks. The Oaks used to be more or less the Louisville Day. It's exploded now. I mean, I think they have like a 5-0 Tuesday. They got a Wednesday, WIN. They have Thurby. They got the Oaks. They got Derby. So it's an entire experience. But there's nothing like it. There's nothing like horse racing, the pageantry, the way that people dress, the hats, the suits, the dresses. It's quite the visual in all sorts of ways, and we had a blast.
What was your attire? Did you have a funky suit on?
Not funky. I mean, just some classy looks. Had a blue jacket on Thurby, and had a pink kind of purple look on the Oaks, and then on Derby Day had a greenish khaki look. So it was cool. It's always fun to dress up, and we had a blast.
Well, I wasn't expecting the conversation to start this way. We'll get to the football in just a second. But last night, I went to UBS Arena here on Long Island, and I went to see Bruce Springsteen, a legendary East Street Band. And I've been going with my dad since I was a little kid. So whenever Bruce is on tour, we go. I'm just curious, since a concert is on my mind. What's the best concert you've ever been to, or who's some of your favorite artists?
That's a great question. When I was in 8th grade, my dad took me and my brother and a few of our friends to Freedom Hall. We went and saw Metallica live with Godsmack. So that was a lot of fun. I've seen 311 probably 10 to 12 times live. I've gone to some really cool concerts with Slightly Stupid, and I've seen I've seen a lot of Revolution, seen them a bunch. So I got a kind of wide variety, like country music. I'm going to Morgan Wallen this weekend in Indianapolis. So, yeah, I love music. Music is a big part of my life. From the time I was a kid, my first concert was ZZ Top when I was 8 years old. So I like all different types, rap, country, heavy metal, reggae, you name it. I like it.
Well, you're no longer an offensive coordinator. Now you're a head coach. Do you get the VIP treatment with Morgan Wallen? Or are you doing that famous walkout with him?
I'm not. No. I'm sure he's going to pick somebody from Indiana or an Indianapolis resident. But maybe if he was in Lexington, I would get something like that. But no, I'm excited. We are getting some good tickets, though. That's for sure.
I know that you grew up going to Kentucky football games. What was a young Will Stein like at Kentucky football games as a youngster?
Just like our Big Blue Nation fan base, psychotic in the best way possible. I was screaming on every third down for the defense. I was erupting when I saw a touchdown pass or run, and I was at about every single game here in Commonwealth Stadium, now Kroger Field. Would travel to away games, would go to about every bowl game every single year. So a crazy fan. When we didn't make it to the Final Four or the national championship in basketball, I was definitely crying in my living room, listening to the radio broadcast, listening to Tom Leach and everything about Kentucky. I was as a kid up until about a few months before I graduated high school and decided to go to Louisville. It was definitely a fun childhood, a lot of amazing memories as a kid with my dad, with my family.
I know Kentucky is something that meant a lot to you growing up. Then you play your college football at Louisville. Now you're the head coach at Kentucky. Does all the Louisville gear get like thrown in the trash, or do you still have some maybe in the closet?
Somebody asked me that. Yeah, I don't have any more Louisville gear. Each year, whenever you move jobs, you kind of do your garage sale to all your friends and family or people that you work with. Hey, take my stuff. You're just not gonna wear it anymore. The only thing Louisville I have, I have my jerseys that I wore. I got those framed. But yeah, there's absolutely zero gear of Louisville anymore. It's all Cats. I got all my Oregon gear out and gave it to some coaches that were on staff, some younger guys or that weren't getting paid a bunch that they wanted some of my gear. And then I gave it to some of my neighbors in Eugene. Kept a few things, some of the cool shoes that I got. But other than that, man, I got everything Kentucky on my wardrobe.
It's such a whirlwind of emotions when you get a job like this. And also with the success that you had, you were doing two jobs at once. You probably could barely breathe, but that's why you get into this, because to get a job like Kentucky, and it's a dream job for you. When did it sink in? Was there a moment where you just said to yourself, wow, like this is reality. Holy smokes, I'm the head football coach at Kentucky.
It happened when we ran out for the spring game, and something I wasn't expecting at all. I think I just looked to my left and I saw my wife and my two kids right at the edge of the tunnel, and I ran out with the team as a head coach. You never really do that as a coordinator position coach. You don't run out with the team. I would always enter the field about 6 to 8 minutes early, kind of get set up on the bench, get my headset on, make sure I got the communication up top. And then you would watch the team run out, at Oregon or at UTSA or Texas or wherever you were, even at Lake Travis. I never ran out with the team there. So, yeah, I think that moment hit me. It was pretty surreal. You hear the fight song, and it just some emotions took over that I was not expecting at all. I didn't go into that moment thinking I was going to tear up, but I had a moment to myself, which was really cool. And but yeah, you just feel it every day. I mean, the city of Lexington, the state of Kentucky, everybody's behind us. Everybody's so excited. But it's really about work and putting in the time and getting the right people on your team. That's coaches, that's players, that's even recruiting staff and strength and conditioning. Everything matters, and ultimately, people want to see a great product and they want to see wins. And so that's what we're here to do. And we are very excited about these next couple months preparing for fall camp and our first game September 5th.
I know you're 36. We're not that far off in age. I'm 31, and I've been blessed in my career to get some big opportunities when I was younger. Hosting for CBS Sports Radio, and I always felt like I was ready for the moment. At 36, why do you feel like the time is now and the time is right for you to be a head coach?
Yeah, it's like when you know that you're going to be ready to be a dad, and when you know that you're ready to get married or buy your first house, or how do you know you're ready to drive? All this stuff. There's all these big moments in your life. And it's all about like how you prepare yourself for these moments. I was blessed to have a wonderful father, still do, that I think prepared me to be a good father myself, and to see all my uncles and my grandfather and my dad be a great husband. That prepares you to be a great husband yourself. I've been blessed from the minute I started Little League Baseball through high school, college football, to be around some elite head coaches and elite position coaches and coordinators that have prepared me for this moment, and so I just trust my training. I trust, the people that I hired on my staff that are fantastic people, number one, that are really smart and that are a hell of football coaches, and so that's what gives me great confidence going into this season and going into this new journey for me and new steps. So is it going to be perfect? No. But even with some of the best head coaches, it was never perfect. It's about being adaptable in today's modern college football. It's about acquiring talent and retaining talent. And then it's about giving our players the best possible game plan and scheme to go out there and use their talents. So that's what's exciting for me in this moment. And that's why I feel like I'm really prepared up to this point, to be a head coach. And there's going to be hiccups. There's going to be some situational football, maybe in a game that I haven't actually said, "Hey, we're going to go. Let's go. We're punt." Right. But I've played the game enough. Like I said, I've been around some elite head coaches that I feel like I'm in a good position to be successful here at Kentucky.
Going off of that, people are going to put you in a box. People are going to tell you what you can and can't do at Kentucky. How do you fight off when people try to limit you and not have that kind of infiltrate that outside noise into your program?
And I felt a lot of that, even over the weekend at Churchill Downs, people coming up to me and, have they set expectations for you? How you doing? You guys, to me, it's just a loser mentality. It's complete loser mentality. And I don't want those people near me. I don't want them near my program. I don't want them near my players. I don't need that in my life. I'm extremely competitive, and I've been told I couldn't do something multiple times in my life. I was a 5'10" on a good day quarterback at Louisville that ended up starting as a walk-on, beating out a scholarship player that was 6'4", could throw it a mile, starting then as a scholarship player in a scholarship, made my way up through this coaching profession. So I've been told I couldn't do stuff many times. And so it fuels me, I try not to think about it that much because I focus on me and my process, but it does fuel me at times too. And so I just think it's a loser mentality, and they brought me here to win and to win football games. And that's what we're going to do, and how long that's going to take to get done, I don't know. If I had a crystal ball, then I'd be a really rich man right now. I know that the goal of every single Saturday is to win the football game. And so we're going to do everything in our power to get that done, not just with acquiring talent, but putting good scheme out on the field too, coaching our ass off every single Saturday and giving our guys the best chance to go out there and be successful.
You're replacing Mark Stoops, who won a lot of games at Kentucky, 2 10-win seasons at that program. I know that could be like a little bit awkward because you're replacing him, but do you have any relationship with him, or how about some thoughts about what Coach Stoops was able to do for a long time at Kentucky?
Yeah, I connected with Coach Stoops when I got the job. We've talked a handful of times, not for an extended amount or things, but he expressed to me that he's in full support of Kentucky. He loves Kentucky. He loves Lexington. He loves the university. He loves his football program, and he wants to see it be successful. So knowing that I have that support from the person who I am replacing is huge. You don't want any animosity, and I think he sees the direction that we're heading, and he's really excited about it. And I know he's excited about his new opportunities ahead himself. But yeah, we've had good conversations, and I'm very respectful of him and the wins that he was able to have here at Kentucky.
You got a good quarterback coming on in Kenny Minchie, where a lot of people are excited to see what he's going to be able to do. That was a close competition last year between him and CJ Carr at Notre Dame. What do you think you have in your quarterback? Because we've heard a lot about him, but you get to see him a little bit more up close than we do.
Yeah, Kenny's really smart. He's got great poise, confidence. He's extremely accurate with the football, throws on time and in rhythm. I think he's sneaky mobile as well. But, I'm excited about seeing him in a real game. I think that's something that it'll be new for everybody. I mean, he's played in games, but it hasn't been crunch time moments or game on the line moments. So that's what we try to recreate every single day in practice. That's why I had a spring football game in front of our fans in Kroger Field to put him in those situations. So I think his best football is ahead of him. I know he's grinding right now today about being the best football player he can possibly be. So I think he's an outstanding person. Again, I'm really excited about the talent that he has, and I think we put some really good pieces around him to go out there and be successful.
And I'm excited to see that connection between him and Willie Rodriguez. How about what you guys got at that tight end position?
I love Willie. He'd play at any place that I've ever been. I think he's that good. He's going to play in the NFL for a long time. Got great size, physicality. He's not afraid to put his hand in the dirt and block the C area. He's also not afraid to go over the middle and have contested catches. So I think he's an exceptional football player. Definitely probably going to be one of the top tight ends in the country. And so it's our job to get him the ball as many times as we can.
What did it mean to you, by the way, on the topic of tight ends, to see Kenyon Sadiq drafted 16th overall to the Jets? Because that was one of my draft crushes, and I think he's going to be a heck of a player in the league. And I still think there's a different level that we could see out of Kenyon Sadiq.
Yeah, Kenyon's a beast. He was a kid from small town Idaho that, when I got the job at Oregon, he was committed. So, there's like 2 weeks until signing day. So we developed a little bit of a relationship when I first got the job. But then over the last 3 seasons, really seeing him flourish, seeing him not just be an athletic guy to turn into a true tight end. So he's an exceptional player, a great person. He's going to be great for the Jets. I think he'll be an excellent pro. And he's going to be a matchup nightmare for everybody.
When you get a job as an offensive-minded head coach, everyone right away is going to say who you're going to hire as your defensive coordinator. When you were going through that decision-making process, why was Jay Bateman the right guy for you?
Well, number one, I think, when you look at his track record, where he's been, what he's done, what he did at Ball State, what he did at Army, him coming from Texas A&M, him being at Florida, he's been in the SEC, he's seen this league. I was very confident right away that Jay was the right person for the job. And I think if you look at how he recruits, not just his position, but all positions on defense, he's elite in that way. He's great connector with our players. Schematically, I think he does a lot of things that are tough on offenses. So I was really excited to bring Jay on, and he's been fantastic since day one. We've, I think, developed a really good relationship, and not just a working relationship, but stuff outside of the white lines, to where, I can count on him. He's a veteran too. He's been in this profession for a long time. And, we have somewhat of a young staff, so it's important for me as a younger head coach to be able to rely on guys that are older, that have seen some stuff that maybe hasn't, come up in my career yet, or he can anticipate some things that might be an issue and let me know from a head coaching standpoint. So, I've been very impressed with Jay and what he's been able to do so far.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to this one. And obviously, the resume speaks to itself. Why his name would come across your desk and why you would hire him. But how did you guys form that connection? Is there a previous connection in the past? Like how did you zero in on him being the guy just outside of the resume?
Well, I mean, we knew of each other, and we recruited against him a bunch at Oregon. He signed some players over us to Texas A&M that I thought were, excellent football players. So that definitely was something that came up in conversation. But yeah, whenever you can get a guy from Texas A&M where he wasn't let go, they didn't force him out. It was, he saw this as an opportunity for him to grow himself, to really be a guy that, I would lean on, and working for an offensive head coach per se, to where he really has full control over that side of the ball. That was enticing for him. And I think just like-minded people surround themselves with other like-minded people. So once we got to talking, and through the interview process and talking to him multiple times and calling everybody from Billy Napier to Mac Brown, to everybody in between that's worked with Jay Bateman, and everybody says the same thing. He's a no-brainer home run hire. It gave me great, confidence that he was the right guy.
With this being your football team, and I've seen this before with offensive-minded head coaches, some guys are able to create a relationship with their defense, some aren't. How do you create that relationship and that connection with your defense?
Well, the first way is don't call plays, and that's something that I'm not going to do here, which is, it's hard to give up. I'm not going to lie. It's not like it's an easy transition for me. I've been calling plays the last, 7 years or whatever of my life. So it's something that got me the job, So some people believe what got you the job, you should keep that mentality and write it out. I just want to be the best head coach I can possibly be for the University of Kentucky. I don't want to be just a play caller that it so happens to be a head coach. I've seen that, and I've seen how it plays out. And most of the guys that I played that did that, we beat the crap out of them because they weren't physical, So that's important to me, is to create a physical mindset, a toughness within our team. And how do you do that? Don't call plays. Be invested in the defense, be invested in the special teams, and then have your fingerprints all over the offense, which we will. So it frees me up to be able to coach our DNA and our culture every single day, and to have that relationship with all 105 players on our roster.
How tough was that decision? Because, like you said, that's been something that you've done. You know it's the right decision, but it had to be a tough one, right?
It was very tough. I went back and forth every day, and this wasn't just when I got the job at Kentucky. It was, you know, just thinking about, all right, if I'm a head coach, how's it going to look? Who's this going to be? You just kind of like, when you're a coordinator at Oregon, like, and you do well, you're going to have opportunities. So I knew the opportunities were going to come. I didn't know when or how or what schools, but as we won more games and we produced more NFL picks and more Heismans, I was like, all right, this is going to happen. So just kind of talking through with people, going back and forth in my own mind. Again, I want this to be a long-standing relationship with the University of Kentucky. I want to be here for forever. I want this to be the final resting spot of Will Stein's coaching career. And I felt like it was just best for our team in the current moment, the current status of college football, where we're not just calling plays. We are building a roster. We are building relationships with the biggest donors that we have. We have media relations, like just talking to you. It's taking away from me doing offensive football, So how do I do that? Hire really smart people that love ball, that love you, that are invested in UK, and let them go to work. But like I've said before, my fingerprints are going to be all over this offense. I'm going to be working hand in hand with Joe. We're going to all go into the game knowing exactly what we're going to call. I'm just not saying it on the headset, and in between series, I'm not the one scripting out plays and coaching up the players on the sideline for what's to come. I'm going to be totally focused on the defense and the special teams. So that's just what I think is best currently for us at Kentucky. And so that's what I'm committed to.
There are going to be people when you say that answer, when you want Kentucky to be your final job as a head coach, that will believe it or won't believe it. To the people that don't believe that, and when you have success, you get a bigger job that comes calling. What do you say to them to make them believe that Will Stein is 1,000% committed, not only for now but for the future of Kentucky football?
Well, I don't really worry about that, at the moment. I'm undefeated right now, so I'm on top of the world, We're in a true honeymoon phase, so you can pretty much say anything at this point. Everybody's going to love you. But no, I mean, I'm a Kentucky kid, right? Born and raised in Kentucky. This state, this university, these colors mean more to me than any other place out there. It's where I used to go as a kid. My dad played here. My mom went here. It's just the Lexington community is amazing. It's a wonderful place to live. There's a reason why, Coach Stoops and that crew, they were here for 13 years, and most of them were the same guys because they love it here. And I think when you come to Lexington as a recruit or even just as a fan, you see how this community is. It's an amazing place. You got city life if you want to. You got great food. You got the state, the lakes in Kentucky. I can drive an hour down the road and go see my mom and dad, and they can come up here and help with the kids. Like, there's a lot of pros to being at the University of Kentucky. So it's an exciting time for me.
I know Dan Lanning well. I'm a big fan of his. I'm just curious. I know you could say a lot, but what are the things that you think you learned the most from working under Dan at Oregon?
Just consistency. I mean, he is the model of consistency. And to do it in just such a normal way. I know that sounds kind of weird, but he's the same guy every day. He's a guy you want to go drink a beer with. He's a guy you want to sing karaoke with. He's also a guy you want to be in the fight with in the fourth quarter at Penn State. He's so consistent and never too high, never too low. But he just brings it every single day, man. And that's what's so impressive to me. And not just in the football schematics, in all facets of the program, and recruiting and player retention and strength and conditioning, nutrition. The guy is always looking to grow. He's never satisfied with where we're at, which is something we preached all the time, growth mindset, and we're preaching here. And so that's what I think was the most impressive about Dan.
When you're a head coach, the camera is always on you. And I remember saying this to Dan when he, early on when he got to Oregon, I go, and I meant this in a respectful way. I go, you're kind of a football psycho. There's just a power that overtakes your body when you're on the football field. You could tell Dan is really happy. What's your demeanor like on the sideline? Is it similar to Dan's?
Yeah, I would say we definitely hold similar demeanor. It's like, and it's what I'm training my guys here, and what Dan trained me, and even what Jeff Traylor trained me is like, you got to be so present in the moment. Like, you cannot worry about what the official calls. That's why you're going to see one guy yelling at the officials, or it's going to be me. It's not going to be when you see the bad teams and the teams are just not disciplined. Everybody on the sideline is throwing the flag or yelling at the officials. Like, that's not how you coach. If you're doing that, you're taking away from the next play, which is the most important play. So, um, you know, I'm very focused on the sideline. As a play caller, it's all about being present in the moment and being able to get in rhythm and get the next play in. Get the next play in. And that's really important. It's not officials, it's not the result of the play, it's just the next play. And so that's what Dan really harped and honestly trained me as a play caller for 3 years in at Oregon, which the expectations at Oregon is that you score 1,000 points every single game, as they should be. So you have to be present in the moment. And that's one thing I thought Dan did such a great job of, is just coached every single second of the game. There was never a time you see him just kind of hanging out. He's always coaching, always coaching. And that's something that our coaches will do here as well.
Two more, and then I'll let you run. I really appreciate the time. Will Stein here with us, the head football coach at Kentucky. Dante Moore, I thought he could have been the second pick in the draft this year. He elected to go back to Oregon. What do you think that will do for him? And what did you make of his decision to go back to the Ducks?
Yeah, I mean, Dante would have been first or second, I think. I think he's that talented. He's that great of a person. He's that smart. Dante doesn't make bad decisions. If he felt that this was the best for him and his career moving forward, then it was the right. If he decided to leave, then that was the right decision. So he's very mature. He's very well thought out. He doesn't make rash decisions. He doesn't make emotional decisions. So I was very excited for him. I was very excited for Dan and that entire program that they got Dante back. So I know he's really excited about this season, and he's just a great person, and he'll have a really long career in football.
It's not easy to sit a year when you've already had starts under your belt. Just what did you guys learn about one another when he was sitting for that year at Oregon?
I never had one meeting with him about playing time. I had more meetings with my third string and fourth string about their playing time or their practice reps than Dante Moore. Not one time did he come to my office and say, "How come I'm not getting this? How come I'm not doing this, coach? What about this?" Not once. And so that's why I respect and love Dante so much, because he's a team guy, and whatever is best for the team, he was going to do. He was a joy to coach and to be around, and to me, he's the model of how you should act as a number two or a guy that's learning. Didn't ask anything, never once. And there's times, especially early on in spring, where he was ripping the ball around, and we were looking around like, man, this guy might be able to go out there. But we had Dylan, who's another one of my favorite people of all time, and was a veteran and played some big time moments and big time games, and we felt like he was the best person for the job, and it was just a perfect year for Dante to learn and get reps and have a great junior year.
Are you surprised at all what Bo's been able to do on the NFL level? Because, at Auburn, he didn't have the most success. It was up and down, then gets to Oregon and rocked it, goes to Denver, and 2 years in, he's made the playoffs both times. And if he didn't get hurt, and I say this as a Patriot fan, they probably would have been in the Super Bowl this year. So how about Bo a little bit?
I'm not surprised at all. At all. He is arguably the best player that I've ever been around, especially mentally. He's a coach's kid. He processes the game so fast. He can anticipate it. He knows every look the defense is going to give him. He's very confident. He is not shy about expressing his opinion, and some people don't like that. I think that's what some people at his previous school didn't like, was that he was probably as smart or smarter than the people that were calling plays. And where I didn't shy away from was those conversations and was his opinions, because ultimately my quarterbacks, just like Kenny Minchie, they're the ones out there playing. If I was out there playing, I'd call my favorite plays too. Like, call what the players like. And if Bo likes curl flat or four verts out of these formations, and he's told you that, Well, he's telling you it for a reason because he sees it this way more efficiently. So call it the way they want to call it. And if they disagree, we'll show him why. Hey, we want to call it like this. Okay, coach, I get that. But if you don't give Bo a plan, he can get a little frustrated. He's gonna let you know. But some people with big egos that try to be the smartest guy in the room, they can't coach guys like Bo, you know? But Bo is the elite of the elite. His mindset is elite, and his preparation always gave me great confidence that what he says, he's right a lot, So let him go be Bo. And so I'm not surprised at all. And I think Davis Webb's a hell of a coach, as quarterback coach and now coordinator. I think Sean Payton's one of the best to ever do it. So I think it's a match made in heaven. And I'm really excited about Bo. And you're right. I'm not going to say your Patriots would have got beat, but I would have said that it wouldn't have been the same game for sure. And I'm excited about Bo and what he's going to do for the rest of his career.
Well, last thing I'll ask you, just because the transfer portal is a new animal and you got to adapt or you're going to die just in this profession if you don't embrace it. You guys at Oregon, especially at quarterbacks, have perfected it not only for the now, but then setting yourselves up in an unconventional way for the future too. The philosophy there is what? Because man, you guys have really, when you guys were at Oregon, you guys really had that thing humming.
Yeah, it's not just Oregon. I mean, I think it's everywhere, man. Like you got to use both, and what is best for the current team. It's less and less about projecting 4 years out like it was when I was playing or even just a few years ago. It's literally a year by year team, So just like the NFL uses the draft and free agency, college football, you got our draft is high school recruiting and free agency is portal recruiting. So they go hand in hand. And if you don't feel like you have the piece to go win you games at the quarterback position, then you go out and do what's best and necessary for the team. Because, like here at Kentucky, we're investing in all these pieces around. We got to make sure we have a trigger man and a guy that can go out there and run the show. So the quarterback's always going to be the most important piece on any football team. And so, like we did at Oregon, like we're doing here, that's where it all starts. And if we feel like we have that person in the high school ranks, then we're going to ride that out. If he's in our program multiple years, we're going to ride that out. If we feel like for this particular season, that person might not be ready, well, you got to go do what you got to do, So I think it's all a case by case, year by year basis.
Coach, I know we abused your time. Really do appreciate the honesty and the insight. Good luck, and thanks for joining us today.
All right, Zach. Appreciate you, man.